Okay, so I've gone through every single part of these forks for the ZX6R. I've deciphered which ones are the good ones, which ones are the bad ones, filtered it all through, and I've now come up with this beautiful lot. Before I start rebuilding the forks, if you're wondering how I deciphered which ones were the good ones, which ones are the bad ones, basically all spacers, washers, if they had any bronzing on it, I would move them aside and work out which one was the better ones, which ones came out cleaner. Same with the dampers. Stanchions were a given. The other ones were bent, which I'll see if I can show you in a bit. Fork bottoms are fine. Springs, made sure they were within tolerance. Oddly enough, the ones that came out of the forks on the bike were the right length at around 234mm in free length. Whereas the spare set, which I've got here, that came out of the other forks, were nearly 240mm. So not a massive issue, just longer springs. Anyway, so we're going to start building. I'm only going to do the one leg on the video for tonight, but you'll get the idea. Everything has been cleaned up, everything is ready to go. So let's start with the stanchion. We've got new bushes to fit. You can buy these through me. I do sell parts, which I'll add my website to the description. Failing that, you could always call me direct or email me, whatever's easiest for you, doesn't matter. Okay, so new bush is on the stanchion, also a new bushing that goes on first, like so. Then we've got a spacer, circlip goes on after the oil seal. Now what I do with the oil seal, I always add a little bit of red rubber grease. It just helps with stiction, or helps with stiction, especially when you're putting it onto the stanchion. If you're wondering what stiction is, sometimes when a seal gets dry, the stanchion can't move freely up and down. So that's all it does. That's why you add a little bit of red rubber grease. You'll get a little lip on the inside of the seal. So all you do is get your red rubber grease. Don't get a tacky one, it's horrible. I know some people prefer it, but don't. It's my opinion. It's not a fact. If it was a fact, I'd put the details there, but I just prefer to not use tacky rubber grease. It's horrible. Okay, so grease is on. Some forks, you want to be careful when you're putting a seal on. You don't want to pinch it. Some people will use a bit of that to go over the top, but generally you don't need to if you're careful. There we go. Like so. Seal is in place. Your snap ring, don't have to put on yet, but for order purposes we'll put that on there. Here we go for your dust seal. Don't be disgusting like me by using your teeth. My hands are very slippery at the moment. Again, a little bit of red grease. Just prevents the stiction, just helps the stanchion move properly. generally speaking, if you're stripping it down this far, you're not going to have much issues if you've cleaned it out properly. But it doesn't hurt. They do go a specific way around. Right. So just to give you an idea of what the order looks like: dust seal, snap ring, oil seal. That is the right way around, just to make sure. Oil, so dust seal, snap ring, oil seal, spacer, bush. That's it. That's pretty much it. Like I said, new bushes on there. That's your stanchion built. Now, I'm going to take the snap ring out for the moment because I don't need it there. Because what I'm going to do, I need to take the dust seal out as well. This was just to show you the order. I'm going to... There we go. Okay. So, you need to drive the seal into the leg. I've got the tool here, which I'll show you. Again, you can buy these through me. I am a laser tool dealer as well. And what you want to do is get yourself your seals, your seal driver. What size of the seal? I've forgotten. 46mm. So you get your 46mm, basically slots around there. Let's move that out of the way. Close that up, so I'm going to be using it shortly. So your steel driver, excuse me, comes in sections like this. They'll have your sizes stamped on them. They sit inside the cast or the metal section. They do fit. It's probably me being cack-handed. There we go. As I said, slippery hands. And it will sit like so. And they will bolt together. Well, they've got small sections where they will slide together or come together. There you go. Like so. Snap together. And that's basically what it looks like so. Over the top of the fork, blooper. I'll tell you what, there we go, good way of doing it, like so, straight on. Just make sure you've got nothing on the insides that's going to score your stanchion. Last thing you want is scoring your stanchion, then it gets damaged. So just drive it down a bit. There you go, going down. And then eventually you'll see the small recess where your snap ring goes into. A couple more. Yep, like so. And that's how you drive your seal into the fork. Snap ring goes down. There you go. Sometimes you want to get yourself a little flat blade. Just be careful just to push it in. It It goes into place like so. Yeah, I'm not happy with that. Let's do that again. Let's push that seal down a little bit more. It looks like it can go. Snap ring. Yeah, that's driven down a bit more now. It's cool. Right, in. As I say, get a little flat blade just to push it into the recess. There we go, much better. Straight in, done. And that's pretty much your seals done. Now you've got to put the internals in using my favourite tool at the moment, which is this little square drive. I'll show you what it looks like on the damper. You see how it goes into there? It slots straight over the top, straight into there and locks into position. That's all that is. I had to wait a few weeks for that to turn up, just so I can strip the forks down properly and tighten them up once I'm done. So let's crack on, let's get it finished. Like so. Is that in place? I'll tell you what, let's take the rod out first. I'll give that a clean before I put it back in. So that's locked in. You might not see on the camera for a moment. I'm just trying to make sure it's all locked in. Get yourself your bolt, which came out from the bottom of the shot, the fork, sorry. Yeah, okay, yeah, there. There you go. And you just wind it in. Now, you'll feel it bite. You can see that? Right, so now that's as far as I can go using my hand. So get your spanner. As I said in the previous video, it's a 24mm up here. The bottom Allen bolt is a 10mm. Just tighten it up. I might have to get into a different angle, so again you're not going to see it for a moment, but there we go. Tight. And that's it. That's your damper rod locked into place. Get rid of that. Now this is where it can get a bit tricky. Now this is where it can get a bit fiddly. I'm going to put that damping rod in last, and the oil seal as well. Sorry, the dust seal. So your spring goes in first. These are tapered. I don't know if you can see it on there, but it's smaller at the bottom compared to where it is at the top. The smaller end on this particular model goes in first. Like I said, this is going to be a bit fiddly. There is another tool, but I didn't want to wait for it. I'm just going to let it drop at the moment. Get the spring in there, because you might be able to. A bit fiddly. There we go. Oh, nearly. There we go. Right. What was next? The spacer. Make sure you put all these out in order first, so then you know what's going on and what's what. They got two edges on these spacers, one slightly rounded, the other side's flat. I might be completely wrong here, someone will correct me at some stage, but the rounded edge I put face first on the spring. He says, there we go, face first on the spring, so the flatter edge goes on the main spacer itself here. This is again going to be slightly tricky. There we go, like so. Now there is another spacer up here, but before I do that, I'm just going to put the nut that I took off these earlier. I'll pick that up in a sec. I've got the spare in here. Don't bear mup it by dropping it like I did. Lock it in or get that wound down. There we go. Right. Last spacer again with these, the flathead, the flatter edge I put on so it's against the spacer there. Right, now this is the next bit. You're going to get yourself your holding tool for the damper, slot it under so it doesn't drop, like so, and then you put your cap on. Before I put the cap on, put the dust seal on. Let's just take that tool out. There we go. Drop that in, straight into the fault, which I'll finish off in a sec when I've got two hands. Knock that off in there. Yeah, use this off. There you go. There we go. Right, that's all locked up there. Yep. And you get your cap. Wind it all the way down. Like so. And then you can take your tool out. Once you've done that, you want to lock it up a bit, just tighten it up. Doesn't need to be horrendously tight, you just need to do it so it locks it. The nut is a 17mm and you're putting it on your adjuster at the top here, which is also a 17mm. Just nip it up like so, and that's it. That is your fork completely rebuilt. In terms of fluid, I'll need to check, but I believe it's a 450mm service on this. I'm not going to show you how to fill up fork fluid, it's easy enough to do. You've got to do your air gap as well. Again, I'll need to refer to the service manual, but generally speaking, that is your whole fork done. Once you've put fluid in it, that's pretty much it. Once you've done it, pull your stanchion up, lock it in place. You're not going to be able to tighten it up at the cap properly, so once you've put the fork back in the bike, tighten up that cap and done. In terms of settings, I'll do that on another video, as well as when the bike gets back to matte, I'll set the suspension up, so I'll do your sag and all sorts. So it's set up for him as best it can be in standard settings. If eventually down the line he decides to upgrade the internals, then we'll do that in another video. Or if he decides to buy another bike. So anyways, thanks for watching. Before you put your cap on, this is a quick edit which I'm putting in the video now. Don't forget to put the damper rod back in, the damper rod like that back in. Stupidly, I just remembered it as I was looking at all the parts. Why have I got a spare damper rod? And because silly bollocks, forgot to put it in. I'm not usually that forgetful, please forgive me. Right, that's done. it does bounce back, I'll pop the cap back on. Wind it down like so. Until it doesn't go anymore. And then lock it up. Again, 17 mils. Oh, wrong way. There we go. Lock it up. Done. That's your fork done. There you go. A little bit stiff, but it needs, just needs a bit more grease on, but that's pretty much it. Lock her up. Not all the way completely because I still need to put the fluid in. I'm going to clean the stanchion up a little bit more because it's not happy, but give it a test. We've got a nice fork there. Once we put fluid in, we'll give it a proper testing.